This is 3 tight ends that I'm going to start as sleepers this week if I don't have anyone. And tight end is a very horrible spot this year in fantasy football. You only got the good guys like Kittle, Kelsey, Darren Waller putting up production for the most part. So here's the first sleeper, is Trey Burton. Yeah, I talk a lot about Trey Burton a lot in my videos because this guy, his production, we saw him a few years ago have a big season with Philly. Then he went to Chicago where a lot of receivers and tight ends do not put numbers up because Chicago just seems like they never have a quarterback. But now Trey Burton, he came off IR a few weeks ago for the Indianapolis Colts, and he looks like their number one tight end over there. We saw him 2 weeks ago before the bye get 21 fantasy points, and he had a rushing touchdown, and he also caught one in the back of the end zone. You know, Phillip Rivers, throughout his career, he likes those tight ends. Either if it was Antonio Gates, who's a Hall of Famer, and Hunter Henry in the last few years, and now he's got Trey Burton over there in Indianapolis, also with Mo Alley Cox, who we saw have a couple good games, and Jack Doyle. But if Burton's there, he's a decent start this week versus Detroit. I think you could get way worse at that position than him. The second guy is Irv Smith Jr., a guy I keep raving about, and I think after this bye week now, we're going to see him this week have an expanded role in that Minnesota Vikings offense. Let's be honest, Minnesota's going nowhere. They're 1-5 this year. It's time to play the young kids. We saw them in week 3 go with Jefferson, and they haven't, regretted that. Jefferson had some monster games, and he looks like the real deal, the stud receiver out of LSU. And Irv Smith Jr., the young athlete tight end, this guy's a freak of nature as well in his second year. Kyle Rudolph, he hasn't done much really in the last 2-3 seasons. I think it's time to play the kid. He's got a decent matchup versus Green Bay, where teams, they throw a lot on, especially in garbage time. And who cares if it's a close game or garbage time, as long as the fantasy production is there. And I could see Irv Smith Jr. once again having a good game. I'll say he could go for 4 catches, 60 yards, and a touchdown. And that's a perfect game for a tight end, especially a guy I'm recommending as a sleeper this week. And the third and final tight end I like this week is Eric Ebron. I've seen him dropped in many leagues over the last few weeks. His production's gone down, and you could go right to the wire and pick him up and plug him in your lineup if you have guys on bye week or whatever. But Eric Ebron here on the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Baltimore Ravens, they're going to focus more on the receivers, Juju Smith-Schuster, Claypool, and Deontay Johnson. So Ebron, I think the middle of the field is going to be open, and he could do some damage over there. So Eric Ebron, you could expect maybe 8 to 11 points. And if you don't have any other options, and Ebron's your best one, he's not the worst option to go with this week at tight ends. So that's 3 sleeper tight ends I got going heading into week 8 of the fantasy football season.